Alright guys, take a look at this. Yesterday evening there was a huge storm blowing in, and there was suspected high winds, which were already starting, and a little bit of rain was already starting, but they were saying hail was coming. And man, I don't know if y'all know the story about my new truck, but I only had it about 2 weeks and it got hit by hail at work, and it was a little over $8,000 of damage. I had it all removed with dentless paint repair, which I highly recommend now that I've experienced it. They did a phenomenal job. It's the original paint, original metal. No paint work was done to the truck at all, and you can't tell. They had it for 3 days and 2 guys working on it for that long, but they did an awesome job. But look what I had to do. I was able to get them both in the shop, and so this morning I'm trying to get them out so I can start work. Look at this, how close. So this is my 96 Land Cruiser. You can see, or maybe you can, yeah, it's like a 1-inch gap between that and my big Craftsman roll around box. Then, you know, I had to come through the lift here, and then my truck is behind that. My blue truck, of course, is here, the 67. But look at this again, between the hitch and my front license plate right there is about, I don't know, I'd say 2 inches maybe, and then squeezed it in. So this shop with a toolbox in front will hold these two vehicles. I mean, I got probably 6 inches here, man, so I probably didn't even have to get as close as I did. But you know, you're hurrying, you're trying not to hit the vehicles into anything or into each other, and it was just, I was trying to get in here. As soon as I got that big door shut, it hit with a vengeance, man. I mean, we had one of the meanest storms. I mean, lightning, crackling. I mean, it's what Texas can do as far as weather. But man, it was crazy. And it was one of those ones where I wish I could have had my camera rolling the whole time in a high-speed shutter rate or frame rate, so that I could slow-mo some of that lightning, because it was just phenomenal. I mean, at one point, the lightning went across the sky horizontally, if I was looking east, against really dark clouds, did a lasso circle and kept going. It was just, I wish I could have filmed it. If it's emblazoned in my mind, I can see it right now in my mind's eye, but that was pretty cool. Just thought I'd show y'all how to squeeze my truck in here. Now, I'm gonna get them out and get started on that engine. Alright guys, here's where I'm at with this engine. I had the oil pan off already. I just put it back on overnight to keep dust and whatever out of the bottom of the engine. Got the engine on this engine stand, and I've got it rotated where the top is actually right over here at about a 45-degree angle. The reason I did that was because I kind of want to see the inner workings of the bottom of this, the bottom end of this engine, and I didn't want to turn it completely straight up and down because there was a little bit of leftover oil in here, and I kind of wanted that to drain out and not get in the bottom of the pistons and just cup in the bottom of the pistons. So I put it at an angle, and I'm letting it run down the side of the block inside here and down into a little valley that's right inside here. That valley will then dump out of the air breather portion of the block that's in the back and come out. So I've got my pan down there. It's already been dripping. I've already cleaned the inside of the oil pan here, and I've still got to go around and get all this gasket material off of this and get it really fresh and ready for the new gasket. But let me just show you some of what's going on. It's actually looks really good in here. There's no rust of any kind. The oil looked really good that was on things. I can actually see little to no wear on the cam, and it goes back to what I was saying earlier in another video. I think the thing has been rebuilt fairly recently. The pistons were 40 over, but I've got to show you something. You remember back when I wasn't getting compression on 3 and 4, and we saw that the head gasket was blown out in between those 2 cylinders, and I wasn't getting good compression on 6. Well, very interestingly, let me show you what I think happened. So the story is becoming clear on this thing. These little 6 cylinders have a little 1-barrel carburetor on them, and that little 1-barrel carburetor has a little oil bath breather on top of it originally. Most people take all that oil out and they don't let it soak up into an element anymore. They just put a regular old fram or something down in there and put the lid back on, everything's good. But this particular breather assembly is held onto the throat of the carburetor with 2 little like 1024 screws, maybe even littler. Maybe they're 6 or 8 size. I think they are. They're like 6, what would that be, 624? Going 632 maybe, going down through the edge of that breather assembly into the very top edge of that throat on the carburetor. I don't know if that's original or not. Almost looks like somebody had punched some holes into the breather and made that happen, instead of, normally there's like a bayonet type thing that sticks up, that's a wire that goes through 2 holes in the carburetor's throat, and it comes up and there's a bolt that's in that, and that goes up through the lid, and that's what holds it, right? I would love to have that back. But right now, when I bought the truck, I got it home, I started looking it over, and that air breather was just rocking back and forth like this. So I took the top off, took the element out, and I looked, and one of those screws was missing. I'm like, I bet I know where that screw went. Right down into the intake, and right through an intake valve and into one of these cylinders. And sure enough, that's what happened twice. So I think the former owner, that happened once. He's like, hey, I lost a screw, I wonder where that went. Put another screw in, it backed out with vibration, went down again, because we have 2 cylinders that have imprints of screws on the actual piston. Now the head is cast iron and the block is cast iron, but the pistons are aluminum. So what's the softest metal? Aluminum, obviously. So when it pounded up and got up close to the top dead center, it needed a little bit, it needed to mush down that screw because of the clearance. And you can see the thread patterns over and over and over in 2 of the pistons. So consequently, I don't know if that caused the gasket to blow out in between. I don't know if it put enough force upwards on the, it's really fast too. I mean, the way this is running, to maybe stretch the bolts, the head bolts a little bit right there on number 3. And then that's what blew the gasket, was it let the pressure off the head gasket. And then number 6, I think why I lost all my pressure was it came up and banged into the edge of one of the valves. And so the valve was not sealing well anymore. But there's one other thing I want to show you guys. When I started turning this crank over and over and just taking a look at it while it was upside down, every once in a while I can hear a little pop, kind of like a, it's going around real smooth, and pop, and then just kind of at a different location and a different piston, pop. So I don't know if that's the wrist pins that are kind of sliding and popping over when they get pressure on them because they're going up the cylinder wall. I don't know. The piston may be trying to crook just a little bit with a little bit of the slack it has. Maybe it's all fine. I could pop these pistons out. It would be very easy right now just to take the cap screws off, cap nuts off, and just drop the pistons out the top of the block and take a look at them. And I may do that before I put this back together. But again, keep in mind, these are usually pretty bulletproof engines, and if I get the top end of it sealed up, the head sealed up, this stuff will probably last as long as I need it to for the job I'm having it do, which is fill in for a year or so while I finish this 67 behind me. This is going again into my 61, that green truck you saw, the Unibody, and it's not the permanent solution for that truck. So should I keep tearing into this thing, or should I just get this thing buttoned back up? That's the question right there. I'm gonna start turning and we'll see if we can hear it. There it was. It just popped again. Almost seems like it's coming from right here in one of these main bearings. Let's see. There he is again. I think it's coming from number 5 cylinder. Now that sounds like number 6, and number 6 is one of the ones that got pounded by that screw. something be wrong with it. Yeah, it definitely sounds like number 6 now. Let's put a little WD-40 on it. You know, it could be that there's just a really slick glass finish on that last cylinder, and as you slowly move the rings against it, it's just giving us that kind of sticky, you know, like that, just popping as it goes. So I'm gonna shoot a little WD-40 on the back of the cylinder when the piston's all the way down. We'll shoot a little bit on there, we'll go around again, and if that quietens it down, that's all it was, which is good news. About top dead center right there. We're gonna spray this around in there. Okay, I'm gonna go slow again, because when I kind of go fast, I don't hear it. I'll get myself really close to this thing so you can hear it perfect. It was doing it on right about at bottom dead of center and coming around the corner. The piston skirt is just outside of the cylinder bore right here and turning around bottom dead center. I hadn't heard a thing. Oh, I just heard something. It's less though. That was a pretty good pop. It's definitely not going away. All right, we're gonna pull that piston. I really, really love my Milwaukee impact here. This is the Fuel Milwaukee. This is has a 1/2 inch drive on it, and I think this is their medium strength one. They have a lighter one too that maybe has a 3/8 inch on it, but dang man, this will do lug nuts and everything. So really like it. You can use it to take things like this apart so quick with it. Yeah, those look pretty good. They're not too bad. Definitely a little bit of wear, but it's not horrible. And it definitely hasn't slipped. You know, sometimes those bearings will actually slip on you. If they ever slip, it's all over. Yeah, so we'll slide some of that on there. Tubing, but man, they cut nice on this kind of stuff. You just squeeze it down. Okay, we're gonna put one on the bottom to protect that as well, like that. Perfect. Cut that. See how quick that, yeah, the right tool works so much better. Okay, now we're gonna get this piston out of the bore and take a look at it. The top ring. So far, nothing's fell out. There's some of the WD-40. There's our piston and our rod. So what I'm doing now, there's my oil ring. It looks okay. A little bit of carbon between them. We can take this opportunity to reclock them as well. That looks good. This one looks good. A little bit of carbon, like I said, on these, but man, those rings look good. They're still springy. So I think that's okay. Wrist pin. It's sliding nice, it's not froze up. Both the wrist pin connectors are in there well. I mean, this stuff looks really good. I don't think there's any issues with it. I'm looking here at the bearing. The bearing is lined up with the oil hole. Let's turn it. Let's turn it again and see what we hear without this piston in there. All right, take a look at this, guys. All this peck, 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 peck is the head of that screw getting beat up. And you can see here on the bottom, right where it says the 40 over, I'll rotate it over. This is a 40 thousandths over piston. And you can see where that screw was mashed many times. So I wouldn't blame this piston if it did have a problem, but I don't feel anything. I mean, the wrist pin feels really nice. I just think it was these rings right here. I just think they were rubbing on the cylinder wall and just kind of giving me that little pop sound. Let's listen very close to this again and bring y'all up here. No more sound, y'all. All right, all it is I think it's the rings coming up and down on that very slick cylinder wall, and it's just kind of making that sound. I mean, it's kind of moving the rings, I guess, in the ring grooves. I really don't know how else to explain it, but we will take a very clean rag and wipe these cylinders out, and we will use our ring compressor, and we will put that thing back in just a minute. The next thing we have to do, guys, is this rear main seal was leaking oil back here, and it was coming out of the bell housing cover. We're just going to draw these bolts out, and we'll have to look up the spec on those as well. But the main thing now is we're trying to get this motor all buttoned up where it doesn't leak oil. I want to be able to park this on my white concrete driveway and not have oil spots. So in order to do that, we're going to fix a couple of leaks. Y'all see that? So there's the bearing right there. It's got a little bit of wear on it. And then taking the side deal out that has the nail in it and that whole 9 yards. And they didn't get that one all the way down, and it bent. Can you see it, how it bent? But it didn't go all the way to the tip. So we're gonna try to do better than that. That probably is what let it leak. All right, guys, look in here. So you can see this is where the side seal was. And at the very bottom, you can see where a little pile of silicone was to seal. Then there's a gap right here, and that's where the oil slinger ring is. There's a gap, and then they had a little bit right on the top of the seal right here that was sealing. But there's this a little path right here where everything could pour out on both sides. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go between that and over here to the wall with silicone when it's all dry and clean, and that's how we're gonna seal it up. I gotta watch out not to scratch anything. By the way, these little Knipex channel locks are awesome, dude. I got them for Christmas. Look, just sliding this out. You see that? Comes right out. That means there was some oil down in that groove and it was not sealing well. That's very oily. Guys, so here's the dilemma. I need to push something. Like, I was gonna use a pipe cleaner, but even a pipe cleaner has a little tip on it that can really scar the surface inside this channel. But I don't know if I'm the only one that keeps pieces of Romex wire like this, but this is a cutoff. And it was really long. Before I cut it right here, I actually just rubbed down it, and stretched the outside plastic cover past the copper. So the copper's down in there about 1/8 of an inch. That leaves me with an end that won't scar anything. It's just plastic. Then I got my gun cleaning kit out and got me a couple patches. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna run these patches through that groove. And patches are not like paper towels, they're actually a little bit more solid. So what happens is, you know, if you get it back out. So if you are watching right here, you can see I'm gonna use this end, the straight end, to get the patch started down in this groove, like that. See if I can get it to travel all the way in there. I'm hoping I can get this booger out. And then I'm gonna use my curved edge to go down and around in that groove. So what I gotta do is sop it out. There it goes. It's going down and around. And I'm pushing it around. And hopefully it's gonna come all the way out over here on the other side clean. See it right there? This is the kind of stuff I call Texas know-how, because I'm using some know-how just to, you know, in anything I have on hand to do something. Now this thing has gone all the way around full circle in there, and I'm getting the grease out because I'm going to put a little bit of silicone on the back side of this thing, and I'm wanting this to be clean in there so that that silicone will seal on the back of the block in the groove. So let's see what else we can do. Now we're going to use one more patch. I'm going to bring this back out.
And again, it's plastic, so I'm not hurting a thing. And we're going to do that one more time. So I'm just doing it just like you were pushing a patch through a 22 bore or something like that. It's about the same caliber here. So I start it with the straight side, then I'm going to put my crooked side in so it can follow all the way around. And just push it around. Here it goes. I'm feeding it in. And I'm going to get that sucker out the other side. This patch is coming out a lot cleaner than the first one, but still dirty. So just like a gun barrel, we're going to keep going until we get a clean patch. See that? And then the only thing that's going to help me slide when I go through this thing again, I'm going to reverse this one and use it one more time, just like you can on a gun barrel. Usually you can get a couple of passes on a patch. But you put the dirty side in like this and just get her going again. And there we go. Got it out. Pull my little piece of Romex back. See? That's just like cleaning a gun barrel, but we're getting all the grease and grime out of there. In fact, I might add a little bit of solvent. There's no, right here, there's no seals or anything that would be hurt by a little bit of solvent on one of those patches. And I want it to be completely oil free. I kind of want it to be even sticky clean, you know, when I'm done, because I'm gonna, the actual black silicone is going to be the only thing that actually helps it slip, the brand new one, slip around the corner and get in there. So I'm also going to clean all these surfaces with a pre-paint prep that I have that keeps it from being greasy. I mean, basically it's a grease remover, and I'm going to do the same thing to my cap. So in this little groove right here, I'm going to get it completely clean, and then I will set this side of the gasket in there, hanging down 3/8 of an inch. I think I'm going to do the 3/8. I'm going to go, this thing runs, the crank runs this way. Yeah, I want it sticking up, I think, on this side. I want the gasket, when it goes through here, I want it to be higher on this side and lower on this side. And then when I make this on, I want the lower side to be over here, opposite of this arrow. There's an arrow on this thing, which is kind of interesting. So I'm probably boring you guys with this, but it just kind of takes a little bit of forethought to get this right, because there's portions of it, like this journal right here, that you actually want a little bit of lube on so it doesn't start up and run dry. And all the rest of this you want to be completely clean, and only the silicone to touch the right surfaces. You don't want the silicone to touch really at all on the crank, because you don't want it to set up and hold on to the crank when the crank starts to turn. You want to hold on to the block. We're about to put this seal in, and it's important to do many things at the same time. One is they want sealant like this black RTV, to be on the back side of the block when this thing is in there. So I'm going to put a little bit along the back side of this and kind of under it as well. So it'll be kind of underneath and on the back side. We're going to rotate the shaft as we go, feeding this down into this hole. Alright, Connor, get ready. I'm going to try to do this without getting silicone all over everything. Okay, go ahead. Start a slow rotation. Let's see if we can get it to go in there. There it goes, go. Okay, just keep it going. Okay, easy. I'm getting it. Hang on. Wait on me a minute. And we're going to go to where this top side is the one that's 3/8 of an inch down in the hole. So let me see if I can push it with something like a little punch. Okay, I'm trying to keep going. It's starting to stop. Okay, turn it. Right there. There it goes. Turn. Good, good. Okay, now I'm going to go past. Okay, hold what you got. I'm going to go past 3/8 of an inch, and that's what you use this little gauge for. So again, I'm trying to make sure I don't leave any silicone. And also I have assembly lube on this this bearing surface right here. So I'm going to go a little more. I'm going to hold my gauge and I'm going to use my little punch and just push that in a little further. Like that. I'm going to feel with this gauge. Ooh, I'm very close. That's perfect. Another way you can check is on the high side over here. You can just put this thing down right there. It's perfect. Okay, so now there's a little bit of assembly lube right here getting close to where I'm trying to seal, so I'm going to wipe that off. This is a very sticky assembly lube that I have. It's a Permatex product. I'll link it in the description, but I really like it. And then right now, let me get this silicone cleaned up right here where I didn't want it. Okay, that looks good. And now what I'm going to do is go ahead and put my beads of silicone between that crack and the wall. Little gauge, and I probably could go out here more, but let's just let them settle themselves out when we get this together. So we're going to put it between this crack and the wall right here. It takes a little 1/4 inch ball of silicone is all you need to get this right where you want it. This is pretty key. And then you're going to just paint up this wall. That also helps it to be slick for that thing to slide into place. Just like that. A little bit of your silicone on this part that's sticking down. That's going to have to seal. And where I did it inside the block was between these two. Right there you make a line. Because from this seal over to this seal is what you're trying to seal. Right across there, so nothing can come out. Now this thing has risen up a little bit, but you see how to move a little bit when we get down. Okay, here we go, guys. We're going to move forward with getting this on, Connor. So once we put this down, we still have to slip these things in. Let me put a little silicone down in these cracks. So you're going to need a little bit in here to help things along. I just do it like that. You don't need a lot. You can't overdo this. The main thing you're trying to accomplish is just getting it to where it'll seal. If you poke this stuff out all in your engine, it's not good, obviously. These little wiper things go in here. This is going on. You're trying not to touch any surfaces that are going to be bearings. We're going to put this on, and these little guys go in here like that. So I'm just going to stick them in place. Got just enough silicone. We don't put the nails in yet. We're going to be very careful. I'm going to set this in place. Get it going down in there like that. We're going to head down. And we're trying to wiggle this down into place. Let's get the bolts, and that'll help us line it up. That lined up good. These are 13/16, I think. That's starting in there. I want to do this by hand because I can feel if it kind of gets in that notch like it's supposed to. I'm hoping it does. This last little catch right here is always kind of hard because there is a little, there it goes, there's a little ledge on the side of the block. Let's get these out of here. Let's use those to pull it out. Those actually go to my fuel pump. Now, do you see how these are not all the way down? We got to get those to go down. Yes, starting to move. And you got to do all this before it sets up. That one went down good. And guys, if I did this right, we will be sealed. If I kind of didn't do it right, we will know after we start it and the oil starts going everywhere. But I think we did. I think everything is done right. Okay, turn that crank just a little bit, Connor. Alright. We're going to leave that alone. That looks really good. Alright, thanks, Connor. Appreciate your help on that. By turning that crank as I was pushing on that little piece of the seal, it just helped feed it all around and get it underneath that crank. And that's a trick you can use, is just get somebody to turn that crank clockwise and you just work that little seal right on around. And most of the time you can get it to feed right in. This is something that you could actually do with the engine still in the truck. You'd have to pull the oil pan and literally that's it. You could pop this back cap off right here. We're going to have to retorque that down to the right specs, but I mean, you can do it. Now all I got to do is I'm going to drop the nails in that go beside this, that snug it up, that tighten it up, and they literally look like a finish nail. And a lot of people laugh that Ford uses this, but it's a great way to expand this rubber joint once you get it in here. And you can put it on the inside or the outside. I like to put it on the inside, and the reason why is because the passageway on this cap is smooth, whereas the casting of the block, there's a little ledge about a 1/4 inch from the bottom that the tip of this can hit, and then it won't go all the way in, so you'd be stuck. And I think that's what happened the last time, because we were looking and that one was bent. So let's go ahead and see if we can drive this one in. I'll show you how that's done. You just take a little hammer and you just start slipping it in, and that tightens your gasket up, just like that. And it's just slipping down in there with that rubber, and it really makes that rubber tighten up. Now, I always go flush, and then when we're putting the oil pan on, we will tighten this up even more. Well, I mean, we'll put more silicone right here across those joints. But that is really sealed, guys. And that's how you do a rear main. That's how you do it. Alright, I just did my second torque on this caps right here. I went to 75. The torque for them is 95 to 105. So we're just going to go right at 100. So I just got up to 75. Let's go ahead and take it up to 100 at this point. There's 90, 100. And with that kind of range, you know, your torque, these wrenches aren't perfect. So you have to kind of one on that side. You go into it easy. You want to walk into it. Hang on, I gotta get that in a better position. Right there. Yeah, that's definitely got it. That's 100. Alright, so getting that crank down to 100, we got this set. These look good and sealed. I mean, shoot, man, we're ready. Let's clean this oil pan up, surface, and we'll get the oil pan back on with the brand new. Oh yeah, we gotta get the timing. The timing cover has to go on first on this because the oil pan actually swings out and seals to the bottom of the timing cover. So that's next. Let's get that timing cover done, and then we'll do the oil pan. Always undo your wrenches, your torque wrenches. Leave them on 0 setting so you won't have those springs under pressure, because that'll mess up your calibration. So leave them with no pressure. Y'all probably know that.